Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannon's, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannon's Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch. What is the most important ingredient in every episode of Classic Restos? Well, it's the little guy and his passion, whether it be for a bike, car or a truck, and the memorabilia that can go with it. Well, stay in your favourite chair because you're about to see one of these guys in this week's episode of Classic Restos on the road. Meet Phil Walmsley, just your typically laid-back car enthusiast, having an interest in cars for as long as he can remember. Like most of us, Phil remembered and enjoyed building plastic model car kits when he was a kid. Guess it has to start somewhere. I remember that. Balsa wood planes, Meccano and Hornby train sets. Anyway, this ain't about me. In September 1971, Phil bought his first magazine of modern motor, featuring the release of the HQ Holden, and it included a vinyl record, probably a Speed 45. Phil has always loved his motorsport, and the Speedway was always big on a Saturday night. Phil's first car was a modified EH Wagon. Phil can remember attending the Sydney Motor Show in 1970, where the Holden Torana GTR X made its debut. Lasting impressions were instantly etched into the mind, no doubt to countless thousands as well. In 2004, Phil decided that it was time that he get back into owning a classic car, and as we all know, 2004 was pretty good timing on our spectrum. Phil was lucky enough to score himself a 1980 VC Brock Commodore, which he still proudly owns today. Isn't Phil lucky? He didn't trade that in over the years. Since that time, Phil has had a series of classic cars, with Holdens making up the majority of these, but his admiration for all brands keeps the enthusiast's emotional pot stirring. Phil is currently the New South Wales representative of the Brock Commodore Owners Association of Australia, and he'll get no argument here when he says that the best thing about owning a classic is the trips away with like-minded people in fantastic cars. Well, here we are. How are you, Phil?
Very well, thanks, Fletch.
That's good, mate. You know what I love about this place? You've got a standard building block, and it's not always about huge sheds. You've really made the most out of the land that you've got here. Look what you've got.
I've certainly crammed it in. There's plenty of stuff in here, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And this is your zone, right? This is where you like to come.
I do. Yep, it's a sanctuary.
Yeah. And you've got such a variance in here as well.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of different stuff, and it's plenty to look at, and there's always a new discovery.
Never before in the history of Classic Restos have I done this. Behind us is a board with 28 vehicles, some past cars that Phil has had and some present ones as well. Phil, we're going to go through every one of these cars, 28 of them, really quick, to tell us a little bit of history. Are you up for that?
I'm up for it, Fletch.
And away we go. Top left, EH station wagon.
That was my first car. Great car, had lots of fun, modified that, and then it got stolen about 12 months later.
All right, Phil, the wagon next to it.
That replaced the car that got stolen, had that for 11 years, did a lot of stuff in that, changed it, gearboxes, carburetors, lots of fun.
Green EH sedan next to that.
That was a cheap source of parts to go into the wagon, so they didn't stay around very long.
Red VB Commodore.
Had that for about 12 months, did a little bit of club motorsport, and then kids were on the scene, needed to move on.
European thing, I'm not too sure.
That's not a European thing, that's a Bolwell Australian sports car. Had that for more years than I cared to remember and never got on the road.
Small grocery getter with snow in front yard.
Yeah, that was a great little car as a daily driver, cheap to run, and good fun little sporty car.
VC Brock.
VC Brock, what a car, the best car they ever built. So bought that in 2004, still have it, been around Australia in it, wouldn't part with that one.
Red Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche, hey, how good are they? Why did I let it go? Should have kept it.
XU1 Torana.
Yeah, great car as well. Had that for about 13 years. Wonderful car, lots of fun.
That thing with Brock written on the front of it?
Yeah, the Brock Monza, unique. That was the car, but very special, and that's gone to a great home as well.
Okay, the nice glossy VB Commodore.
Yeah, that was a cheap pickup and was a daily driver just for a little while. Bit of fun.
Okay, looks like a Vauxhall, the gold Vauxhall.
Yeah, Vauxhall Royale Coupe. Being a British car, it came with rust and it got sold with rust.
All right, another Bolwell. Looks like it was a McDonald's hamburger restaurant publicity car.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. Ronald McDonald would have loved it, and maybe he would have gotten it going, but I never did.
VN, HSV.
Yeah, what a great car. Should have hung on to that one. Very rare manual, HSV enhanced, and yeah, who knew they were going to go crazy in pricing?
Okay, that thing on the trailer, an Opel with a VB Commodore front on it.
Yeah, that's another Vauxhall Royale Coupe, and maybe one day that'll hit the road looking a little bit different. We'll see how we go with that project.
VK Commodore.
Yeah, that was an injected Commodore. Picked that one up as a trade-in where I worked, and yeah, that was a good bit of fun for a little while.
BMW.
Yeah, what a nice car. That was my daily driver for a little while, and sold that to buy the EH wagon that you can see beside it, and my kids thought I was mad.
And that next car, the pink EH.
Yeah, the pink EH. Who doesn't love an EH wagon? They're just such an iconic Australian car. Good fun, brought back memories, but being a standard car wasn't as much fun as a modified one.
Okay, VN Bellina.
VN Bellina V8, that replaced the BMW, so it was a bit of a step back in time, but it was cheap, it was fun, it was V8, so yeah, it made do.
Stepping up now to the Benz, Phil.
Benz, I'd never had a Benz before and probably won't have one again.
Okay, Phil, the Opel Monza.
The Opel Monza, that was a daily driver, just a six-cylinder car, so that was a bit of a twin of the Brock Monza, but just a six-cylinder, and that was my daily driver for quite a while.
Got to love a one-tonner. What's going on there?
Yeah, one-tonner. Cool, hey, but a very tight cab, and that didn't stay for too long. I just didn't find it very comfortable.
Back when you were a brickie.
Back when I was a brickie, that's right, exactly, yep.
Okay, another VK next to that.
That was an awesome car, V8 manual Calais, very rare, and...
V8 manual?
V8 manual, yep. So sold that to a mate who had wanted one since they were new, so it's gone to a good home.
That Burgundy HX. Love that.
That's a stunning car. That was 5-litre V8. Lots of good GDS options on the car. One owner, low Ks, just a magnificent car.
VC, SLE green.
Yeah, what a beautiful car. That was one owner car, but just a six-cylinder auto. So looked the goods, didn't go the goods.
Nice VK next to it.
Yeah, VK Director, that was just a stunning car. Travelled down to Victoria to pick that one up and bought that in partnership with a mate, and that's gone on to a mate as well.
The FJ Holden panel van on the trailer, Phil.
That's the project that's underway at the moment, and again, an iconic Australian car in FJ vans, so they're quite rare, and that'll get finished one day.
VC Brock.
VC Brock, yeah. When I sold the Brock Monza, it was a bit of a trade deal, so that came along for a little while, so yeah.
Another BMW, Phil.
Another BMW, that's my daily driver, and that's a great car, two-door manual car, good fun, so sporty.
And an older one next to it.
Older one next to it, yeah, that was a nice little pickup, and that's gone on to a mate as well, so it's nice when they pass on to good hands.
And now, car number 28, the M-Tech BMW, Phil.
Yeah, that's a great little car that got picked up from Walker, fun drive home in it, and that's actually been restored, and that's a beautiful car.
Phil, the beautiful HQ 350.
HQ two-door Monaro has to be the best-looking Australian car ever built.
Factory 350.
Factory 350 4-speed, we need to get it back to that. It's not that at the moment, but it will get there.
We'll see that in a moment.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Here's something I want to share with you. I know you really like. Now, it's a tie collection. You might think, okay, no big deal. But how cool is this? Here we have every one of these ties, one of these classic ties, happens to be Holden, marked with the Holden symbol. How cool is that? Yeah, I didn't want to tie you up for too long on that. I just wanted to show you.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannon's.
Shannon shares your passion. Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Welcome back. Getting around Phil's big yard here. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Fletch. Sun's shining. Beautiful day.
It is, and getting around looking at the yard ornaments.
Every yard should have a bit of yard art, and what we've got here, 1971 HQ Kingswood, doesn't get much more Australian than that, does it?
Yeah. Too bad Sterling Moss never promoted HQs, hey, with all the moss going on here.
That's right. Exactly right.
What did you do? Did you empty 2 litres of milk over the thing and just let it sit for 17 years? How'd you come up with this, Phil?
Oh, look, isn't this a gem? I got this exactly like this, picked it up locally, and it actually came as a part deal with another car that I bought, so didn't have to come far home, and looked exactly like it did today.
Well, as they say, an apple a day gathers no moss.
Do they say that?
So what's the story with this HQ here, mate? Poor old girl. It's had its last day out on the road, just sitting in the backyard here, hasn't got much else to do. It's in retirement. What's its history?
It's very lucky, isn't it? Wouldn't we all love to be retired like this, just standing around in the sun? It's got its Tasmanian number plates on it, so it came from Tasmania and up to a local yard and sat around for a while, probably potentially a parts car, and now yard art. It's got a little bit of rust in it, so I don't think this one will see the road again, but yeah, it's just cool to have a bit of yard art, I think.
I know the HQ boys will be saying, oh, look at that bumper bar, look at that grille, look at the headlight surrounds. Oh, that's got a good front clip on it.
It probably does have some good stuff, and it's gotten more valuable, I guess, than when it first arrived into the yard, but yeah, it's just a good thing to have. Bit of a talking point, so there's no one that comes into the yard that doesn't make comment on the QE, that's for sure.
Well, look on the bright side, Phil. It's less grass you have to mow while that sits there.
That's exactly right, and that's what we like.
Moving through now, as we do, at Phil's place. Beautiful factory, 350, HQ, 4-speed Monaro. You've done well here.
I have done well, yeah. I'd been looking for a car for a long time. I love the shape of the HQ coupe. And yeah, the values were going a little bit silly. I thought I wasn't going to get one, and then this one popped up at All Holden Day about 5 years ago. Yeah.
All cars are coming into their own, all the classics, there's no doubt about that, but haven't HQs caught on?
They have, haven't they? Yeah, so they were a bit of the poor relation to the HK to G models for a while, but yeah, they're certainly come into their own, and HQ is the biggest selling model in the Holden range, so yeah, it's pretty cool to have a coupe.
Well, it ran the longest too in its series.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, started at 71, ran through to 74. Yeah.
It's nice to see the cars, though, getting the spotlight emphasis now that they deserve. They're such a, well, you know, a legacy for what we can remember in terms of what we grew up with. But not only that, they're just great. You get into a brand new car today, everything's perfect and you expect it to be. But when you get into a classic car and they feel so good going down the road, it's just a totally different experience, isn't it?
Absolutely. I always say the more miles, the more smiles. I love driving the car. And you think about 1971, so this car is 50 years old this year. And
it doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem that long ago that I was off buying that magazine with the HQ on the cover. And here we are 50 years later, cars in the driveway. And where did those 50 years go, eh?
Can't believe you've still got that vinyl record. From a 1971 magazine. That's amazing, mate.
It's very, very cool, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the sort of thing, they just don't do stuff cool like that anymore, do they? There's just not the passion with new cars that there is with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, imagine the fun on Friday nights with that record. Have a few beers and put it on 78 speed just for fun.
That's exactly right. We should do that, shouldn't we?
Okay, now, history of this particular car. Do you know where it's from? A little bit about its past, Phil?
Look, I know a little bit about the last 30 years. So a mate of mine that actually told me about the car has known about it for its last 30 years. He was the one that let me know it had been stolen and that sort of thing. So it's been fitted with an injected 350 engine now and a turbo 700 gearbox.
It's a good score to your collection, Phil.
It certainly is, isn't it? Yep.
What's the story with the little XU1 sitting there?
Okay, so that car is actually a replica. And I did have a genuine XU1, which I sold. Whether it was a good thing to sell it or not, don't know. But anyway, that freed up a little bit of cash to do some other stuff, and bought that as a replica. And there's a Round Australia event coming up next year, which is a commemoration of Brock's 50th anniversary of his first Bathurst win, which was, of course, in an XU1. So the plan is that I'll be driving that car around Australia in an organised event. So everyone with a classic car's got a different motivation and a different way they get their enjoyment. But for me, the enjoyment is not just looking at them, it's going for a drive and going for a drive with friends that, it's, going across, the Silver City Highway, with a row of classic cars. How good is that?
Oh, there's so much to be said for getting in your classic cars and driving them. As you know, Mark from Shannon's, our trips in the past to the United States, hope that we can be more into the future. But driving 4/5 from one side of that country to the other, when Mark bought these cars, the old Chrysler cars, the Mopars, and they've sat for years, and next thing you know, you're doing a few thousand Ks in them, and there's
no better feeling, is there?
No, it's an experience.
It is an absolute experience. That's how you get to feel what the cars were built for. They weren't built to sit in a garage and look pretty. They were built to drive. This car over my left shoulder, the HQ Coupe, it's just the best styled car in Australian history, I think. It's a pretty agricultural car to drive. It's nothing like the VC Brock that's a much more refined car. With the HQ, you well and truly know that you're working, it doesn't have power steering. You know you're alive when you're driving that. There's no the car doing it for you. You're doing everything with the car. But on a nice summer day, there's nothing better than having all the windows down, the wind coming in, hearing the sound of the V8, and just harking back to a bygone era. I feel great when I drive that car. It really does hark back to that time when, growing up, seeing what sorts of things you could think you might drive again or drive in the future. It's just all about the look and the sound and the feel and reminiscing. I mentioned previously that I love my motorsport. Pretty much everything that I've got has some sort of connection with motorsport, whether it's the Torana, the Commodore, Monaros. They raced Bob Jane in improved production, so it really does hark back to that motorsport thing as well. So it just takes you back to your youth.
Thanks, Phil. Now stay in your favourite chair, because after the break we'll be back to talk more about Phil and his man cave.
Every weekend around Australia, motoring enthusiasts get together to share their passion for cars and bikes. It's a passion that brings us together. All sorts of people, all sorts of cars and bikes. From the classics of today to the classics of tomorrow. At Shannon's, we understand enthusiasts. So when it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannon's. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. Have a classic? It just has to be insured with Shannon's. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannon's a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannon's Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Welcome back. Phil, time for the man cave part of today's show.
It's the exciting part, isn't it, Fletch?
It is. You spend a lot of time here.
Look, I do spend a lot of time in here. It's a sanctuary, and I think everyone should have a bit of a sanctuary that they can get away and, just have a bit of time to focus on themselves and, the things that are important to them.
When we look out the door, the house is just over there, but I think you forget where that is.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the escape.
The stuff you've got around the walls, the pictures, the signs, your Holden memorabilia, you've no doubt been collecting for quite an amount of years.
It would probably be a lifetime, I would suggest, but the actual shed's been up for 5 years, so there's been 5 years of getting things up and obviously adding to it and that sort of thing. But it's been a good project and good fun, and it's an evolutionary thing. There's more things to do. So
you're passionate about your motor racing, aren't you?
I love motor racing. So I've been a fan of motor racing for as long as I can remember. Used to go to the Speedway as a kid. My father used to take me to that, and then onto motor racing, circuit racing stuff. I've done a little bit of club motorsport and motor carnas, super sprints, that sort of thing. But that's a long time in the past now. Now I just enjoy driving the cars, but yeah, spectating and historic motorsport's the thing that really excites me.
There's just something about seeing our classic cars on a racetrack, the old Appendix J, and then later with the Group N series. Like, it's just, you can never get enough of it, can you?
Oh, you absolutely cannot. Some of the cars are sensational. They're cars that we grew up with, and we saw them racing as new cars with the big names like the Brocks and the Moffats and the Bonds and that sort of thing. So to see those cars on the track now, it just brings back your youth.
Tell us about your Holden dealership signs here in the shed, Phil. They're a bit of a score.
Yeah, they are a bit of a score. So, look, I was in a very fortunate position that a mate that used to work for Holden sadly passed away. He had the signs, and I was contacted and asked if I was interested in them. So, as they say, the rest is history. I was able to pick those up, and they've not been up in the shed for too long. But yeah, they look great lit up, I think. So they really add to the look.
The Bruce McPhee, the HK bonnet up there too. That looks nice. Suspended from the ceiling as well, Phil.
Absolutely. How good is that? That was Holden's first win on the mountain, 1968, and that really, to me, started the modern era of the Bathurst race.
And of course, with Brocky too, with VK, with 05. Wow, how symbolic was that? And I see you've got that bonnet there as well. It's at Phil's place here. He has choice of bonnets.
A bonnet for every occasion, and every bonnet has got a little bit of a story associated with it in one way or another. So, yeah, they certainly bring back memories and, good times. What
would be your most, if there is such a thing inside here, what would be the most special thing to you?
Probably the thing that is the most special, I think, would be the Holden sign up on the back wall, simply from the point of view that it really is the focal piece within the shed. It's the thing that you walk in and you see it there lit up. And, I've been a Holden guy, from the young days. Obviously, we don't have Holden anymore, but it's nice to be able to have some sort of tribute to what was, a golden era, I think, in Australian motoring history.
Well, Phil, on that note, I want to thank you very much for having Classic Restos here today to share with us your man cave, your memorabilia, a lifetime collection, and of course you're a Holden guy. Yes, it's the Holden cap, the Holden Legends cap, limited edition from General Motors Australia. Take that cap and, mate, you can add that to the vast plethora of other stuff you have here.
Thanks, Fletch and Classic Restos and General Motors Australia.
Good on you, Phil. Thanks for having us here today, mate. Take care of yourself, hey?
Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
The shed, to me, I've had this shed for about 5 years, and there's obviously a lifetime of collecting things in here, and it's really important that I've been able to get everything that I've gathered over the years into the shed, and it's an escape from normal life to be able to come down here. It's a sanctuary. You can reflect on things that are great memories from the past. You can envisage things that are coming for the future as well and make plans. There's other things that need to be done in here, so it will gradually evolve as something that it's a growing project. It's not the biggest shed in the world, but it's bigger than I had before. And for me, it's just really valuable to have somewhere that I can get away to have a lot of stuff on display. Over my left-hand shoulder, I've got a VC Brock Commodore. That's a car that I saw them, I remember as a 19 or 20-year-old going to Sutton's at Chullora, seeing a red and a white VC Brock on the showroom floor and thinking that is just a killer car. I would love to have one of those in my life. Took 24 years, but eventually that car came along, so purchased from down to Chuka. Kids and I had a weekend away and went down, had a look at the car, did a deal, and so that's been 17 years now that I've had that car. I've done over 100,000 kilometres in that car since I've had it, so it's well and truly a car that gets used. It's gone around Australia. There was an event that we did as a tribute to the Repco Round Australia trial, so A mate and I did it in that car along with about 140 other people, so that was a sensational thing to explore the country in a car that's just so much a part of, you know, the Australian folklore of motoring history. That was the beginning of the special vehicles operation. That was the first car that HDT built, the VC Brock. So evolving from that, we had HDT special vehicles, HSV, Ford performance vehicles. If it hadn't have been for that car, would those industries have started? Maybe not. And it's great to be able to jump in that car, take it for a drive, whether it's a short drive or a long drive, and just think about a simpler time and cooler cars. Well, that's it. You've seen the Man Cave. I've been happy to share it with you on Classic Restos and hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoy it.
And I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos. Yes, at the humble abode of Phil Walmsley, where 31 cars were featured. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.